Borderlands 3 was a game that I had no intentions of ever playing, but here I am reviewing the game, so I'm sure you're asking yourself, what changed? Well, my game share partner demanded I buy it, and it was my turn to buy something new. So I decided to get my money's worth, and I played through the entire campaign, and I'm glad I did, because I quite enjoyed Borderlands 3. But of course, it's not without its issues, and I wanted to make this video to go over everything positive and negative about Borderlands 3. What is going on, guys? Randall Thor 19, the man with the million, back again with another review. And if you enjoyed this review, make sure to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel for more content. See, that's one of the great things about game sharing. Saving money and then trying out games you potentially might skip. I thought I was over the whole Borderlands craze. I mean, I like Borderlands 1 and 2, but I felt like, you know what, the third one just doesn't really seem very interesting. And I was wrong, because when I beat the game after 45 hours, I enjoyed my time. The best thing about the game, honestly, is the gunplay. Man, did it ever feel good to shoot your crazy-ass weapons at all these dumbass enemies that constantly rush you. And that, honestly, is what drove me to complete it. It felt good to take my Jacobs revolver and just headshot enemy after enemy after enemy, and then switching to your assault rifle that does incendiary damage and just melting the huge badass enemies and just destroying everything that comes at you. It's remarkably well done. The gunplay in this game is up there with some top tier games like Destiny and Call of Duty. And then you add the whole loot aspect alongside of that. You don't have to grind for loot in this game. They literally throw it at you. And just when you thought you were getting, used to your flamethrower, the game throws a better purple or legendary gun at you from the 9 different gun manufacturers. And yes, honestly, each one of the gun manufacturers feels different to use. It's really cool. Like, Jacobs is totally different than Atlas, which is totally different than Dahl, which is totally different than Maliwan. Each one of those guns are definitely unique, and I really enjoyed that experience. And then, of course, one of the other aspects I enjoy, where you're actually fighting. You're no longer just on Pandora, because the story sees you trying to stop the Children of the Vault and the 2 bad guys who are absolutely terrible, but we'll get into that part with the negatives. But they take you off-world for the first time. No longer you're stuck in the brown wastelands of Pandora. You get to go to Meridian and the neon different colors of that city. You get to go to Athenas, which looks completely different. So many different variety of locations that it really kept the game fresh. But keep in mind, one of the biggest factors, maybe one of the biggest barriers to the enjoyment that you'll have playing this game, potentially could be who you pick to start off playing the game as. There's 4 choices, just like in most of the other Borderlands. You have Flak the Beastmaster, Mose the Gunner, Zane the Operative, and Amara the Siren. And of course, judging from my gameplay, you guys can see I picked Mose the Gunner, because her action skill lets you get into a giant mech like Titanfall and deal insane amounts of damage. But honestly, her action skill wasn't that useful later on in the game, and you didn't really use it that much, unlike the other characters. So you gotta kind of do some research as to who you want to play as, what their action skills are, what their trees look like, what their passives are. Because I thought, piloting a mech would be really cool, but because of the way I spec'd out Mose, I went down her Shield of Retribution tree. Each character has 3 trees, and you can kind of put points into whatever one you want. It basically gave me more shields at the expense of health. And I also had a perk which let me do more damage the lower my health was, and since I was always at low health, I was just one-shotting everybody. And every time I killed an enemy, I got a stack that increased my shield and increased my damage. So by the end of the game, I had 15,000 shield, and I was literally headshotting, killing every enemy in one shot, and I didn't need to use the mech anymore. So my action skill became completely pointless. maybe I would have enjoyed the game more if I had played as Amara or maybe the Beastmaster. So make sure you guys do your due diligence when choosing who to play as, right? So the game's got amazing gunplay, incredible loot, great and different varied locations, and then some of the stuff is just the same as Borderlands 2. The mission structure has not changed whatsoever. It's just like Borderlands 2. They basically went for, hey, it ain't broke, so don't fix it. But the one area where the game definitely is worse than Borderlands 2 is the main villains. They absolutely suck. And I know it's been a couple weeks since, I started the game and finished it, and I honestly don't even remember their names anymore because they were completely terrible. They're two streamers who talk about, hey, like, share, and obey. And they have these, the bandits all follow them, and their writing and their voice acting, horrible. Well, I shouldn't say the voice acting. Their voice acting's good because they're supposed to be annoying, so the voice actors did their job. But anytime they were on screen, I wanted to stop playing the game. And when you put that in comparison to Handsome Jack, like, there is no comparison. Handsome Jack destroys both of those. So one of the biggest weaknesses of this game is the main villains, and honestly, the story itself. I couldn't really even tell you what was going on. Oh, we have to go get more, open up more vaults and do this and do that. And honestly, just kind of whatever, I just zoned out. And then you would think playing this game in co-op would be something really cool. I played Borderlands 1 and Borderlands 2 in 4-player co-op and had a great time. But perhaps the biggest issue of the game, outside of the terrible writing and outside of the horrible villains, is the performance issues that Borderlands 3 has. You see, I played this on the Xbox One X in performance mode because it's supposed to give you 60 frames, but it doesn't. And the more people you play it with, the worse the frame rate actually gets. So trying to play the game in 4-player co-op didn't really work out. You had frame rate problems, disconnects, the system just shutting off. So I ended up playing through most of the game solo. And maybe it's to the game's credit, how good the gunplay is and how good the loot is, that I went through a game clearly intended for co-op completely by myself. I pretty much did everything you could have in this game. All the main missions, pretty much every single side missions except for some of the Circles of Slaughter. Ended the game at level 43. And you know what? There is a lot to do afterwards. They have a Mayhem mode, which you unlock, and then True Vault Hunter mode, which lets you go through the story again, earning, more XP to level up and then getting better weapons. But honestly, I have no interest in playing again, just like I have no interest in Destiny or, playing more of Division 2, because just getting more loot or incremental better loot so I can kill tougher enemies just that quicker doesn't really interest me. I just kind of wanted the experience of Borderlands 3. And for the most part, it was really good. The game looks pretty good, definitely way better than Borderlands 2, but not like jaw-droppingly gorgeous. Getting around the open world, just like Borderlands 2, you can get in a car and drive across the open desert. I never really liked that. The game tanks in frame rate when you do, and I honestly just prefer Borderlands when you're just on foot. I don't really feel like the open world aspect adds anything to it. There's a few really good boss fights in the game, a couple that made me smile, and even some of the side missions, like a handful of them, are well done and well written, but for the most part, the writing is definitely not very good. It definitely seems like stuck in 2009, and it's not like updated for 2019. There's definitely moments where I cringe and I was like, oh man, this isn't very good. Like what they did with Vaughn and Reese from Tales from the Borderlands. I love those characters in that series, but they are absolutely horrible here. So I mean, I enjoyed my time with it. I'd give the game a solid 8. The gunplay's great, the loot's incredible, the different places you go to really keep it fresh. But man, the villains and the plot and the writing is just terrible. But it's more Borderlands. So if you're someone who likes more Borderlands, you're gonna like this game. It's more Borderlands for you. They didn't change anything. But for those of you on the fence, I definitely wait for a sale on this. Wait for them to patch the consoles so the X runs this game properly and the base consoles as well, and to make playing it in co-op an enjoyable experience instead of just disconnects and, frame rate drops all over the place. But I'm happy I played the game, and I give the game an 8. Anyways, guys, that's my review for Borderlands 3. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you hit the like button, consider subscribing to the channel for more content, hit that notification bell if you always want to be notified immediately when I drop new videos like this, and share this out on social media. I'd greatly appreciate it. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see everybody in the next video. Later.